The U.S. election ushered in a historic and critical moment. Who will become the 46th President of the United States, Harris or Lau Chuan? The final candidate will be announced soon. It stands to reason that this is just the first turn-taking game of trading in the United States. But the tense atmosphere makes people feel a little unusual. Because the person who sits on this president, it is very likely that we will be blamed for the historic bubble in the United States. But there is no hint of humility in the party struggle that must be done by me. On the contrary, it is getting worse. The purpose of this article is to explain why this election is very important to both parties. If Harris takes office, what happens? Please read on. Today is voting day for the US election. U.S. states will close polling stations tonight. The election management body will release preliminary results in the hours after polls close. But these results do not include tallies of early voting from organic voting machines. The final results will follow the statistics of travelogue voting, and the periodic certification process may last until mid-November. So what if Trump really copyrights this time? What will happen in the United States? According to American netizens, if Harris takes office, the United States will basically continue the current policies of the Biden administration. The foreign war between Russia and Ukraine and the chaos in the Middle East will continue. Join allies to form a small circle, intention to suppress China's development. Wars will continue to be fought around the world. It will even open up new battlefields, shaking up the world. The world is getting more chaotic, the more they party. It is known, Jewish capital controls the world's largest financial institution, the Federal Reserve. Jewish capital controls the world through war. Cooperate with the Federal Reserve to achieve global financial operations. To achieve the purpose of plundering global wealth, there is a high probability that the team will eliminate Trump's influence. Trump's criminal case continues to move forward. For example, New York sealed. Federal election operator Federal Confidential Documents Desk. If the allegation is true, Trump could face jail time and hefty fines as well as civil damages. The Republican Party will give up on Trump in the future, find an agent again, and leading entrepreneurs such as Musk who fully support Trump may be squeezed out. No Trump, Musk's tech geek hat may be in vain. That's why so many billionaires are leaving the battlefield. The main reason is that the economic and political views of the two candidates are very different, can effectively affect their interests. Will this hurricane of the century lift the big A? Will still divide the big A? We'll wait and see. As we all know, the U.S. election is essentially the ultimate game between the two major interest factions in the United States. But this election is very abnormal. The number of billionaires killed by these two people is even more rare in history. For example, Republican Trump, Musk, the world's richest man, capital tycoon Bill Ackman, there's Wall Street guru John Paulson, energy magnate Harold Hamm. There are about 50 billionaires including banker Timothy Mellon and others. And on the Democratic side of Harris, former world richest man Bill Gates, financial tycoon George Soros, black market president Jonathan Gray, venture capitalist Gard Huffman. There are more than 80 billionaires including Reed Hastings, the founder of NAFI, etc. Many billionaires have stepped down to take sides. The chain of interests is intricately intertwined. Now it can be said that the opinions of these two major factions are completely torn apart. It has almost reached the point where water and fire are incompatible. And this tear may also become an inflection point for the global economy. Affects every one of you and me. Let's first take a look at Trump's political views. First of all, he wants to give money to the rich and powerful people in the United States. Corporate explanation: to support American businesses, especially the manufacturing industry in the United States, to develop. As for Harris, his political views can be said to be diametrically opposed to. It's about raising taxes on big companies, tax cuts for the poor, and he very much welcomes immigrants. After all, most of the supporters of the Democratic Party are the lower class and immigrants in the United States. So will the United States really have another civil war because of Trump's defeat? The partisanship in the United States is actually divided into two periods. One is a political dispute. One is a battle between ordinary people, the competition between the rednecks who support the Republican Party and the white left represented by the Democratic Party. The dispute between the two classes is a legacy of history. It just happened to be intensified when Trump appeared. From early colonization, there are big differences between people in the northern and southern parts of the United States. For example, New England in the northern United States was the gathering place for the Protestants on the Mayflower. They have religious disputes. Traveled all the way from Europe to come here. Most people who can believe in religion are citizens who have received catechism. This laid the foundation for this group of people. Hong Kong quickly became the original birthplace of American culture. At this time, the southern region of the United States was home to a large number of farmers, especially the destitute class who had been exiled. Europe did not start the Industrial Revolution. There are many homeless people. These people have no culture or religion. They belong to the extremely poor class that no Lord wants. After being incorporated into the southern United States, you can only sign a contract with the farmer sold into slavery, even if it replaces Sinalu's qualification to survive. The gap between white people in the north and south of the United States was doomed from this time on. Now we can also see the discrimination against rednecks by white elites in the United States. In fact, even discrimination did not start recently. Rednecks are also. There was also a special investigation and research report on forced sterilization at the time. The above shows that a fifth of the white people in the southern United States are illiterate, but the number of illiterate whites in the north is less than 1%. Even the soldiers who participated in the war were divided into northern and southern soldiers, based on practical experience. The overall quality of southern soldiers is lower than that of northern soldiers, also more likely to die on the battlefield, because white southerners do not value education. Problems such as people here being violent and conservative overseas are gradually becoming more prominent. Then the forced sterilization of southern whites began. As long as a family is classified as inferior white, there must be forced sterilization. Approximately 50,000 southern whites were sterilized before and after. So when did this group of people begin to be taken seriously? From the 1950s. The value of rednecks is gradually beginning to be reflected. The wind of Soviet communism began to blow around the world. When the Soviet Union made remarkable achievements in science, technology, industry, and agricultural production, American capitalists have to use part of their profits to win over the rednecks. After all, the Soviet Union is the comparison. Major capitalists have a sense of crisis of being overthrown. They can only temporarily give up the exploitation of redneck capital. Rednecks are originally extremely conservative, believe that God likes America first, waiting for the sun. As a result, after the status of black people increased, crush rednecks directly. There are also a large number of groups of unknown gender who are attacking the values of rednecks. So this election may trigger this kind of conflict. Once Trump loses the election, may break out again, just like the Capitol Hill riots that year. What do you think about this? Follow Nation Capital. Let's talk about it in the next episode.